Hello and welcome back to Boxing Social in association with Betfred. My name is Ayman Khan. We are here in Jeddah with the one and only. It's hard to give you a label, Russ, because you wear so many hats in boxing, but this weekend, most integrally, most importantly, you're in the corner of Callum Smith and Alexander Usyk. Russ Anber, pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for speaking to Boxing Social. How are you doing?
I'm good, Ayman. How are you? I hope everything's okay with you.
Yeah, I'm not too bad at all. Russ, we're edging closer to Usyk-Joshua too. Just first of all, your initial thoughts on the fight. As we had the first fight, we saw the first fight happen, we're edging into the rematch now. Your first initial thoughts on the fight?
Look, I think it's a great fight, and I think the reason rematches end up being great is because the losing side believes they can win. The fans of the losing side believe they can win. And I think that's what makes rematches so interesting, that there's, I think in the fight there was so much talk about the style that AJ chose to use the first fight, which I was not as critical of him doing that because I understood the psychology behind them trying to box and stay with the chess master and see what they could do and using size and reach and intelligence. AJ's a smart fighter, people I don't think give him enough credit for, and I think we saw evidence of that in the second Ruiz fight. So I wasn't as critical towards what AJ, it seems everybody else was. Everyone was all, he should do this and he should be all over the guy. So I think that's what has now given people the hope, Ayman, that that he can reverse this result. So I think that makes it interesting, and he's such a great athlete. You have to give, and his size and power, you have to give him that chance. So that's what makes it great. And I can guarantee you this: by no stretch of the imagination is anybody from Usyk's camp taking this fight lightly in any way. And I think this becomes. Yesterday they made a mention that this will be like round 13. I think Usyk said this will be like round 13 of the fight. I'm not sure that it's exactly round 13 because there was a rest period in between, but I think it's the same thing, like a continuation in which the fighters change tactics in the corner, and now you get them coming out differently. So I think they both know each other now, and I think it's interesting for everybody concerned, for both camps. And if either camp disagrees with that, I think they're lying. So I think it's an interesting matchup, and it continues to be a battle of tactics and countering the tactics that are used by each fighter.
Russ, this is, if I'm correct, your 10th fight in the corner with Usyk. Can you tell me about the initial calls when you were drafted into the team with Usyk, and then the journey you've had with Usyk with his team, and how kind of it's developed with working with him, and any specific stories you have with Usyk?
Well, look, I was brought in by Egis Klimas, who's his manager, and I work with Lomachenko as well, as you know. So Egis brought me in to be the cut man and hand wrapper for Usyk, which was a real honor for me because Egis has so many great fighters, and the fact that he doesn't use me for all of them, obviously, but the fact that he called me for those two guys is quite flattering to me, and I'm forever indebted towards him for giving me that opportunity because getting to know both those guys has been a milestone in my life, a highlight, if you will. Usyk is just a great guy. Like on a personal level, I got to say, and more importantly than anything else, I've said this before, and I'm not shy to say it again. As a father of a daughter, Usyk is the kind of guy you want your daughter to bring home. That's how I feel about him as a man. And I've been in this game 43 years, and I can't say that there's a lot of guys I would say that about, but Usyk is one of them. He's really a great guy, and I think he's proven what kind of a character he is, his convictions that he has, the effort he puts into his training. I'm just so happy to have been a part of that. You asked me about like an anecdote or a story, and just to show you how the world changes, when we went to Germany to fight Marco Huck in the Super Series, the World Boxing Super Series, World Series of Boxing. After the fight, Usyk and I, after the win, we left the hotel. We walked through the streets of Germany. We were both desperate to have a kebab after the fight. We walked, just ourselves, picked up 2 kebabs, had to pay for them, like the guy. No one knew who he was, who I was, nothing. And we walked back to the hotel, kebab in hand, sat in the lobby of the hotel and ate our kebabs. It would have been maybe, I don't know, say 2 o'clock in the morning. In the lobby, no one bothered us. As the fights progressed, so on, Usyk couldn't go anywhere, can't go anywhere without being mobbed by fans. People waiting in hotel lobbies, airports, wherever it would be. He cannot go anywhere. And that just gives you a reflection on the power of victory, the power of popularity when it happens. You know, one day you're having to buy your own kebab, and the next day you can't be left alone, you know, without people mobbing you. So, and he's always handled it so gracefully, and that's something that I had not seen that in my career to that extreme. And the same thing happened with Loma's career as well. I remember we'd walk through Vegas with just the initial team, like 6 people were eating in New York or in Vegas or something at a restaurant. No one bothers us. Next thing you know, like he wins a few fights, all of a sudden his visibility is immense, and you can't go anywhere alone. You don't have the peace to be able to sit down and just have a meal or something, or coffee, without people swarming him. So that's what I remember.
Russ, can you take me back to the first fight? And there was a horrendous cut that Usyk suffered. From your perspective, from the moment you saw the cut open, tell me what you thought, how you kind of planned your action to manage it, because that cut didn't play a factor in the fight, it seemed, from watching it when we watched the fight the first time around. So how do you manage those situations when they occur in such high-pressured situations as well?
I don't know. I think that's what, you know, when they talk about having experience, and I think that's just what it is that you do. We're in the boxing corner, and you do what you have to do. I know this might sound a little bit strange, but never, no matter how big a venue I've been, and let's face it, you know, Tottenham Spur had to have been the biggest I've ever been at, okay? I don't even feel the crowd around. Like, when I'm in the corner, my body, my heart, my sensation feels the same way, whether I'm in the crowd of 80,000 or a 500-seat little venue working with a fighter. You know, like I'm concentrated on the fight. I'm working the fight. I know the routine I go through. I know when I have to put the Vaseline on my hand. I know when I'm timing the rounds. I know when I'm preparing my bucket, getting my things ready. I do the same things regardless. So you're in kind of a zone, if you will. You know that, and I know that might be difficult to explain. So to answer your question, I don't know how I did it. All I know is that we did it, and nobody noticed. So it must have been a good job, because no one made mention of the cut or anything. And it was quite bad, because he took 3 stitches inside and 7 stitches outside after the fight. But the best compliment, and I hope I do justice to my imitation of Usyk when we spoke after the fight. He got back to the UK. He said to me, "Russ, I'm fight. I'm feel blood. I worry. UK judges, UK referee, He says, I go back corner, he says, and I feel you pressing. The bells start and I wait. I'm waiting for feel blood. But I feel no blood. I say, Russ, fix. And so that was his way of saying thank you. And I love the way he said that. You know, it was great. It's complimentary. I like that. And so I did it, and I hope I don't have to do it again, because I hate to have to work when we're in the corner like that, because it's so crucial to the fighters. But we got through it, and he went on to win.
Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up question. Do you, coming into this fight, do you kind of worry about the potential of a cut emerging, the same cut maybe reopening? I was speaking to Badu Jack yesterday, and he suffered a horrendous cut in his fight with Marcus Brown.
I was there for that one.
And he said to me that once they stitch it up, the doctors mentioned to him like his scar tissue or the skin now is stronger than it was before. So will that play a factor in that maybe it won't re-emerge in the coming fight?
When you have repeated scar tissue in the same area, the way a lot of times the old-time fighters used to have it, where they kept getting cut over and over the same places, and that just makes them susceptible to cuts, not necessarily because it's the same cut reopening. It's probably a bunch of cuts that have opened over time, and they keep getting hit in the same area. I'm not concerned about the same cut opening, you know, because it was a north-south cut, if you remember correctly, right? It went up and down. It wasn't a cross. It went up and down. You're always worried, though, about cuts when you have an orthodox and a southpaw facing each other. You know, it's almost inevitable that there will be a clash of heads, especially if both are trying to be aggressive and impose themselves. So I'm not worried about the cut. I'm worried about a potential cut or clash of heads or swelling or whatever that could occur when righty and lefty fight.
A lot of people make a lot of mention to, especially when Joshua fights, about his size, and his size will dictate how he fights coming into this one. But interestingly enough, we're seeing images and pictures of Alexander Usyk, and it's been made mention that Usyk looks bigger in this one. From what you see, from what you can tell of both fighters, do you feel that Joshua looks leaner? Do you feel that Usyk looks bigger?
I don't want to say, because then I might be a liar when they get on the scale, and I could be wrong. I mean, Anthony is just so big. How do you determine if he's bigger or smaller than what he was? Like I don't see. To me, he's always gigantic. So, and I don't get to see him every day to be able to make that comparison. He's just naturally big. Usyk, I see as a guy who is now just naturally in the weight. I don't believe to me, as a fight trainer, as someone who's been in this game for the amount of years that I've seen, and what I've seen fighters grow, he looks like it's just a natural growth. It doesn't look like it's been manufactured or put on, or he's done something. Like, I think we saw a great difference when Holyfield moved from light heavyweight to heavyweight. You saw that like it was a massive transformation. I don't see that with Usyk. I didn't see it as a massive transformation when he went from cruiserweight to heavyweight. It just looked like he had growth on him, and it was just a natural. He didn't look like he bulked up or anything. He just didn't have to lean down as much as he did, to make cruiserweight. So no, I don't see that, and I don't think, as far as Usyk is concerned, I don't see a massive difference in the size coming in from the last fight. I think it's going to be very similar.
You're doing double duty this weekend. You're working with Callum Smith as well this weekend. An interesting situation could develop with Callum Smith. We'll get to that in a moment. But first of all, what's it like working with someone like Callum?
Well, I like working with all the Smith brothers. They're fun, and I enjoy playing snooker with Beefy. And he's not here; he's ducking me in Jeddah. Yeah, I love working with him, and I'm proud to say that I've worked with him for an extensive part of his career and have been part of some of his big wins, and I'm very proud of that. To have been part of that, it was because of him that I've been to Jeddah before, so now this feels somewhat homish. I don't feel out of my depth by being here in Jeddah again as a result of having been here before. So I've even have people that I met on the previous trip here in Jeddah that I was able to see again. And he gave me that opportunity. The first time I worked with him was when he made his U.S. debut, and I wrapped his hands in California. And I've worked with him since, so it's an honor for me, and I love working with him. I love his family. I'm around them all the time. They're good people, and I'm proud to be here with them. And I was, as a matter of fact, staying here at this hotel is because they were staying here, and I know we'd be going to the venue early, so I made it a point to stay here at this hotel instead of staying at Usyk's hotel, because I needed to be over at the venue earlier for Callum.
So as I mentioned, an interesting situation could develop for yourself should Callum win at the weekend, being that you work with Callum and you work with Artur Beterbiev too. Have you thought about that situation at all as to where you would stand at that? Can you say at all?
Well, of course I've thought about it, absolutely. And I've had massive discussions with myself about it. Yeah, now this is an opportunity if Smith wins to fight Beterbiev. And that's something I'm going to have to deal with when the time comes.
That's fair enough. Lomachenko as well. Lomachenko, he's landed in the US. Do you know at all if Lomachenko might be coming over for the fight?
I asked Egis about this, and they're not sure, like with visas and what the travel time would be. So I don't know. But I don't know, because of the timing of going to. Same with his father, because of the timing going to California and then getting here. Maybe it'll be a surprise visit, to boost Usyk. But I don't know. I wish I could. If I knew, I would tell you, but I don't. We're keeping our fingers crossed.
So just to ask you, are you also doing the hand wraps for Usyk as well? So could you tell me, I know fighters very much differ in terms of how they like their hand wraps from fighter to fighter. How does Usyk like his hand wraps done for his fights?
The way I do them, because I don't change anything with a fighter. It doesn't matter whose hands I wrap, unless there's a special need that is required. And the best example I could give you is Eleider Alvarez, former light heavyweight champion of the world. His hand is so damaged that this is as much as he can close his fist on one of his hands, okay? He can't make a flat fist, okay? So his hand is like this. So I have to adapt to make the wrap work for him that way. But everybody else, is, except for, my bone hurts here or this hurts there, and then I'll just add extra tape or whatever, my method of wrapping hands is the same for everybody. So he doesn't have a particular way. He likes the way I wrap him, and that's pretty much how I got the job with Loma when it started. Aegis was looking for somebody to wrap Loma's hands. He was in Montreal, as a matter of fact, for the Kovalev-Jean Pascal fight, and asked if I would, give it a try and wrap Loma's hand. So I didn't ask him what he liked, what he didn't like. I just wrapped it the way I wrapped it, and he liked it, and they invited me to the next fight, and I've been with them ever since. So I wrap it the way I know how to wrap, and I hope it does a good job. And like I said, except for a few things that they might say, this make it tighter here, or this I hurt my thumb, I need you to put more tape. Besides that, my style of wrapping is the same for everybody.
Just to get your thoughts on a couple of other things before I let you go. If we jump back to just Lomachenko, the division has kind of been in flux, but it's settled now with Devin Haney being undisputed champion. Kambosos beat Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez has now since moved up, but a lot of talk about kind of Lomachenko when he returns, he'll be the guy to win back the belts or win the belts from Devin Haney. How do you feel about the division as a whole right now?
I think it seems to be a division so talent-laden and so much hot air in that division. It's almost disgusting, for the amount of talent that's in that division and the squabbling that goes on in social media and the lack of fights that could be made, the fights that could happen in that division. It's insane. I don't even know what to think about boxing anymore when I see this kind of stuff. It's ridiculous. I mean, think about this, and try to keep this into perspective. And you can look this up and see. I might be off by a few months or so, but if I'm not mistaken, Sugar Ray Leonard fought Thomas Hearns and Duran twice. Twice Duran and Thomas Hearns fought them in the space of time that all these lightweights have not fought each other. That's even Spence and Crawford have not fought each other. So it's almost insane to think about it with the amount of talent in the divisions, and we can't make the fights that we should make, and we're dreaming up concoctions of different matchups. I don't get it anymore. I don't understand the sport we're in anymore. I don't understand the business behind it. It seems like the networks have become the bosses, and they control the fighters, and they don't want the fighter of the other network fighting on their network, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And fights aren't made. And at the end of the day, it's the sport who suffers. The fighters benefit in a way financially, because they get to make lots of money by not fighting somebody and fighting somebody else. But I think the sport and the fans suffer from it as well. And I think Loma proved that he's ready to fight anybody, and he should. And I think it's sad that we didn't get the Lopez rematch, because that should have been a trilogy. I think it goes without saying that should have been at least 2 fights. If Lopez wins, fine. If Loma wins, there should have been the 3rd fight. I don't know how that could not have happened. I don't see how you don't have Loma, who has now had 2 consecutive wins in the lightweight division in the time that other guys haven't even fought, and he doesn't get a shot at Haney or Kambosos. And rematch clause for Kambosos and Haney when Kambosos' performance wasn't worthy of a rematch. There have been greater fights that have happened where guys didn't get a rematch. So I don't know what to think anymore, Ayman. I'm baffled. I don't know what to think. It's sad.
Hopefully this one doesn't baffle you as much, but we're hoping as boxing fans we get to see Spence and Crawford battle it out. It seems like there was some momentum building towards that, and it's just stalled slightly. But that's a fight as boxing fans, boxing pundits, boxing within the boxing circles, everyone wants to see. Do you feel that we do get that fight this year? And hypothetically, if we do, how do you see that fight playing out too?
I'd rather reverse the question on you than answer that, because clearly I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I don't make any sense, because it defies logic. But I'll just reverse it on you. The talk was that Crawford wasn't getting the fight because he was with Top Rank, right? Yeah. So now he's not with Top Rank. Yeah. So it seems to be that this is a 5-minute deal it takes to put together. You work out the numbers. I mean, you want to fight, you're going to make it happen. when you don't want the fight, you're not going to make it happen, and you're going to try to find every little reason for it not to happen. So it used to be that, Top Rank was pointed out as being the bad guy. Oh, they couldn't make the fight, because they don't have the other guys, not different promoters. So he leaves Top Rank after they built his entire career and made him, the arguably one of the best fighters pound for pound in the world. So now you leave, and the fight's still not made. Like, that should have been the automatic reason of leaving Top Rank, was because the next fight gets delivered is Spence, and that didn't happen. So you tell me. I don't know what to say anymore. It makes no sense.
I don't have a crystal ball either, but I do just hope as a boxing fan just to watch that fight and have that fight materialize. If it's a Vegas fight there, it's eyes. And I think right now we just need really big fights to happen, like a fight like this at the weekend to happen, especially with the two fighters when you look at them as a whole and what they bring to the ring. It's a fight that we just have to see. We're seeing a third fight in the form of Canelo and Triple G very soon also. How do you see that fight playing out too?
Again, a day late and a dollar short, like, again, late. Like, I don't know what this trend in boxing is. It's, that we waiting so long for fights to happen. Like, they happen even past their due date. And a prime example of that, and probably the most glaring example, is most recently Kell Brook against Amir Khan. Yeah. Like, that's insane that two guys from the same country, which is this big, you could drive there anywhere you wanted to in 3 hours. You didn't make that fight happen 10 years ago when they were both prime stars. Like, it's insane. And it seems like this has become the trend of not wanting to fight somebody else, going to fight everybody you can and not wanting to fight someone who's there. Now, I don't know what their reasons were, but clearly it was a case of not doing everything you could to make the fight happen and doing everything you could to avoid the fight from happening, whether it's negotiation tactics, money, distribution rights, dates, whatever it was. When you want to make something happen, you will make it happen. And I think proof is this fight right here. I think any fight that you see made happens because you want to make it happen. So listen, King and Arum hated each other to kill each other. When they needed to make a fight happen, they made a fight happen. It never was really stood in the way. Broadcasters didn't stand in the way. They did it, and fights were made. I don't know what to say about this. I feel like I'm a novice in the game now because I have no idea what the hell is going on.
Russ, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, and also a pleasure reading your columns on Boxing Social, which everyone can find on the Boxing Social website. Check it out. A lot more insights as well in there in those columns, Russ. And also, I must also thank Luke Williams for the tag for setting this up as well. So appreciate Luke Williams for setting this up too. Russ, I'll leave the final word with you. What can we expect to see from Alexander Usyk this weekend?
You stole my line of thanking Luke, because that's what I wanted to do. Listen, it's a pleasure to talk to you guys, and I love doing the column with you, and I love talking with Luke about boxing. That's a lot of fun, and you guys have been great to me, and so I appreciate that. Look, I think it's another great fight. The one thing that I would hope I want to see from this, I mean, obviously I'm in Usyk's corner, so you want your guy to win. Everybody wants their guys to win, and I'm good friends with people in Joshua's camp, and I know they want their guy to win. It's the sport we're in, and I think we're going to get a great fight. The one thing that I hope comes from this, and I mentioned this yesterday, people, why is it that newcomers in boxing today, up-and-coming prospects, feel that they have to adapt the bad guy attitude, the trash-talking attitude, profanity-laced interviews, profanity-laced press conferences, confrontations at weigh-ins where they have to push each other and shove, and yet you have the two of the best fighters in the world, nothing but class. Why do fighters continue to emulate what's bad with the sport and not with what's good with the sport? And Anthony Joshua and Usyk are two guys that are what's good about the sport of boxing and what makes it the sport we love, and what makes it have people like the Saudis put up their money to have these type of fighters here in their country put on display for their people, because they're such classy guys. I hope the rest of the boxing world follows suit and sees what it means to be class in a boxing ring, in a build up to a boxing fight, and to making fights happen.
Russ, absolutely well said. I knew it would be great to speak to you. It has been great to speak to you as well. Thank you so much once again for speaking to Boxing Social, and we'll catch up very soon. Thank you so much, sir.
I appreciate it.